I'm having seriously conflicting feelings about One Finger Death Punch 2, much more than I expected, and it's made writing this review quite difficult, especially since the first game holds a special place in my heart. Now, I played that game for 19 hours 5 years ago. Whew! That's before I started making YouTube videos, although not that far off. My first gaming video was later that year in October, little known fact. Anyway, like any sequel, you have to walk a line between keeping the same amazing, unique content everyone loved, but also providing something new, and that's the hard part, recapturing the initial magic, how to iterate correctly. So, I'll finally get around to it. This second game is absolutely better than the first in every way. However, it doesn't change the formula at all, so if you were looking for something completely new, this might be a problem. For the uninitiated, let's cover the basics. One Finger Death Punch is straightforward. There's only 2 buttons in the entire game, left and right. You have to hit the buttons when an enemy is in range, which you can see under the player. No button mashing. Jeez, why does everyone want to button mash? You can't press the buttons too early or else you're going to take damage. Missing is also bad for score. If you lose all your hit points, you'll have to replay the level. Side note, I love how the game adjusts itself to how well you're doing. If you're absolutely killing it, then the speed increases and the game gets harder. Really nice for those off days or hard levels you just can't get past. The idea isn't to bring the pain, but you can if you want. Just adjust the speed manually in the settings. While One Finger Death Punch looks very simple, there's actually some nuance to the combat. I like to play in a way so I don't waste anything and try to conserve my fingers. What I mean is trying to take out the most difficult enemies the easiest way possible. For example, if I have a throwing star, do I want to use it on a simple white enemy that dies in one hit, or that mini-boss that's going to give me a lot more trouble? If I use it on the mini-boss, then I don't have to do that whole complex button-clicking mechanic. It's the most efficient play, and as you get better, you'll start seeing a ton of these little ways to make it easier on yourself. Now, this is important when you're 900 enemies deep in survival mode. Fighting a prolonged engagement with your nemesis, that can be risky. But it's not only punching dudes. There's all kinds of variety between weapons, skills, bosses, and the levels are constantly changing. The main mode has the player moving between levels on a map. You need to find the path from the left side to the right. The art changes with each screen and the game gets harder as you continue. The path isn't known, but you are rewarded for completing extra levels with skill points and revenge tokens. The level types change too. There's dodging only levels or chainsaw only levels. And for example, there's one level where the goal is to hit enemies into machines of death. And to tell you the truth, the levels are all pretty much the same anyway. Yes, hitting enemies into the death machines is visually different, but as long as you just keep doing what you're doing in all the other levels, you're going to hit them into the machines anyway, just don't get hit. It's the name of the game. There's another mode, Gauntlet, where you play a randomized set of tiles. Each is a different kind of level and difficulty, and it's up to you to make your path through it with a limited health bar. So your health does not refill after a level, but you can find more in the levels. It's pretty cool and adds a lot of replay value. After you finish the game, this more randomized content will be good for a quick run. This is my favorite addition to the game. Survival mode is still in the game as well. This time you play through a tower and it gets more difficult as you progress. Pretty much the definition of a survival mode. Although, because it's a tower, every time you reach a new section of it, the game lets you start from there with a score multiplier, which is incredibly generous. While you might not get the best score, at least you don't have to play through all those really easy levels, unless you want to. Side note, no Luca no mode is still here, for those select few who remember and want the extra challenge. Luca is just as frustrating as ever. Get the hell out of here, Luca. What I need to stress here is exactly how much content is in this game. I talked about playing the original for 19 hours, and it seems to me you could easily do the same here. Except it's a lot better. I actually went back and replayed the first game and ouch. That didn't age well. It feels ancient, especially after playing the second one. All the graphics are better and clearer, the entire user interface is improved, and the game can now run at resolutions larger than 1080p. Thank you very much. It's the small things that count, like how the background for the power zone is dark so you can see what you need to press. I didn't realize how much of a struggle the original was with the opacity for the button presses so low. The added content is a welcome addition as well. All the new weapons, including guns. After 5 hours, I'm still finding new enemies to face off against. There's also a new mechanic where you can dodge, block, or reflect thrown weapons. It adds a little more strategy for optimizing your attacks, and you can plan to use the weapons accordingly. They also changed how the skill tree works, and it's a lot better. Instead of selecting only 3 skills, you now have access to all of them, but you can force them to happen quicker by putting your skill points towards them. They do have some really crazy ones. I especially like the one where a train or truck shows up after a punch and then kills a few enemies in a row. Makes me chuckle every time. Where the hell does this train come from? The horse one is also good because at the end there's a chance to slice an enemy's head off for health back. Another improvement is their input detection. Instead of punishing the player for pressing an extra button, there's some leniency here. Perhaps it was in the first game, but I never noticed. Now what happens is that the game will eat a bad input if it happens too quickly. Sometimes your mind will press the wrong button when it's happening so fast. You don't realize you're doing it before it's already done, so it's nice to be given a little bit so you don't feel cheated. In games like Cook Serve Delicious, there's no way to correct your mistake after you've realized you made it, and it can be frustrating. So look, I had an entire section here about how the game was worse for not allowing you to move through the main map in any order, but they fixed it. It was really silly because you had to travel to each intermediate level before getting to where you wanted. They even put controls in to move the map around independently from your character. Yes! What I'm saying is that this is the best one-finger death punch I've ever played. With all the new content, I'm enjoying myself. The gamer in me is loving it. The critic, though, doesn't feel like there's enough difference from the first. Adding in guns wasn't exactly what I was looking for. Why isn't this game in space? It doesn't feel like a theme change, but a minor upgrade from the previous. In a different world where it wasn't 5 years later, I think it would be a bigger problem. It's been so long though, it is time for a second round. Overall, One Finger Death Punch is great, and I like it a lot. I'm willing to give it a pass this time for recreating a very similar experience because it's so damn good. If you were looking for more of the same, here it is. If you're new to the series, then just skip the first and get the second. I do recommend it, and it's perfect for getting completely sucked into a game. It's still, mechanically, one of the best games I've ever played. Did you know I'm going to make more reviews in the future? So hit subscribe to make sure that you can see them.